Hello and welcome. So, what did the Buddha actually know? Was he some kind of divine being who knew everything about everything all at once? Well, today we're going to dive into this amazing ancient conversation where the Buddha himself sets the record straight. He reveals the true nature of his wisdom, and it might not be what you think. All right, let's just jump right in with the big question. Was the Buddha all-knowing? I mean, it's a massive claim, isn't it? Omniscience. And this isn't just a modern question we have. More than 2,500 years ago, a wanderer, an ascetic named Vaccha went directly to the source to find out.
And look, this wasn't some vague idea floating around. A very specific rumor was making the rounds, and Vaccha wanted to get to the bottom of it. He just lays it out plainly, basically asking, look, people are saying you have this complete, uninterrupted knowledge and vision, whether you're walking, standing, sleeping, or waking. Is that true? Are they reporting what you actually said?
And the Buddha's answer is this really direct and powerful correction. He says, nope, that's not right. Anyone claiming I am samādhi, or all-knowing, isn't quoting me. They're actually misrepresenting me with something that's just plain untrue. So what's the truth? The correct description, he says, is tevijjā, which means one who possesses the three knowledges.
So what exactly are these three special kinds of knowledge that actually define the Buddha's wisdom? Okay, let's break them down, starting with the very first one. And this one is a profound journey into his own incredibly deep past.
It's called Pubbe Nivāsanusati Jnana. I know, it's a mouthful, but if you break it down, Pubbe means former, Nivasa is like an abode or home, Anusati is recollection, and Jnana is knowledge. So it's literally the knowledge of remembering one's previous homes. In other words, your past lives.
And listen, we're not talking about some blurry déjà vu-like feeling here. The Buddha describes it as this incredible ability to recall, with all their specific characteristics and details, one life, then two, then 10, stretching back through countless eons of the cosmos. Just imagine a complete and totally vivid personal history.
Okay, so let's move on to the second knowledge and see how this builds on the first. Because where the first knowledge looked inward to his own past, this one looks outward, seeing the journeys of all other beings.
This one is called the Tevijjavacchasutta. Dibba means divine, and chaku means eye. So, the divine eye. Now, this isn't about telling the future or anything like that. It's about seeing the universal law of cause and effect, karma, as it plays out for every single being. The Buddha explained that this knowledge lets you see the entire karmic process completely mapped out. With it, he could see beings passing away and then being reborn. Some inferior, some superior, beautiful, ugly, fortunate, unfortunate. And most importantly, he could understand why, seeing how they fare according to their actions.
And all of this brings us to the third, and you could absolutely argue the most important of the three knowledges. This one isn't about the past or about other lives. It's all about achieving ultimate freedom, right here in this very life.
This one is called asavakayana. Now, the asavas, these are the really deep-seated mental outflows or corruptions. Think of things like sensual craving, the desire to keep existing, and just plain ignorance. They're what fuel the whole cycle of rebirth and suffering. Kaya means destruction, so this is the knowledge of their complete and total eradication.
The importance of this is just wow. It's so clear in the Buddha's own words. He states it in the present tense. He has realized this liberation for himself through direct knowledge right here, right now. It is not some future promise. It is a present moment reality.
So after hearing about these three pretty profound knowledges, Vaccha does something great. He brings the conversation right back down to earth. He wants to know what this all means for ordinary people, people who aren't monks. So he asks a really critical question. Is there any layperson, what he calls a householder, who, without giving up all the attachments and responsibilities of worldly life, can make a complete end of suffering when this life is over?
And the Buddha's response? It's as clear and direct as it gets. No. There is no householder who can achieve that ultimate goal while still being bound by what he calls the fetters of household life.
Vaccha immediately pivots. It's the logical next question, right? Okay, so if the absolute end of suffering is off the table for a layperson, what about a more accessible goal? Is there any layperson who, while staying a layperson, can be reborn in a heavenly world?
And here, the answer is a complete 180. The Buddha says yes, absolutely. And not just a few. He says, it's not just 100 Vaccha, or 200, or 500. There are far, far more householders who have reached a heavenly destination. And just to really drive this point home, the Buddha then draws this fascinating comparison to another major spiritual group at the time, the Ajivacchas. Vaccha asks about their chances, and what the Buddha reveals is, well, it's a starkly different outcome. Just how different are we talking? Well, the Buddha says that in the last 91 eons, which is an almost unimaginable span of time, he can remember only one single Ajivika who was reborn in heaven, and that was only because he happened to accept the doctrine of karma. Just one.
This revelation leads Vaccha to this really powerful conclusion. It's like a light bulb goes off. He says, well, in that case, if a spiritual path can't even lead to a good rebirth in heaven, let alone ultimate liberation, then that path is fundamentally barren. It's empty.
And the Buddha doesn't argue. He doesn't disagree. He simply confirms Vacchagotta's insight. He says, so it is, Vaccha. That spiritual path is empty, even of a heavenly rebirth. The final takeaway here is crystal clear. The value of a path really depends on its results.
And this brings us right back around to where we started. This whole conversation completely reframes what wisdom is. It's not about knowing everything in the universe, but about mastering three very specific things: understanding our own past, perceiving the law of karma for all, and completely purifying our own minds. Which leaves us with a final question to think about. What kind of knowledge is it that truly leads to freedom? Is it knowing every fact in the universe, or is it knowing the precise path to end suffering?